Welcome back, guys. We got Grandma's Subaru. Something's going on with these brakes again. We got like an inch. Ooh, they're kind of warm. We got about an inch of smooth and we got rust. What's going on with these brakes? Always these brakes on a Subaru. She doesn't drive it a lot and it sits over the winter. We get road salt, debris, who knows. The back ones don't look too bad, but this front one's better. But listen to this noise. Got a little grinding going on. We're just going to drive around the circle here. Oh, it sounds terrible. I don't know if you could pick that up. Definitely the right front. I wonder if the pad fell off. But we also have like upper strut mounts or something that's making a squeak when you turn. Yeah. We'll back it in and tear it apart. We got 85,000 miles and this is a 2013. Sounds pretty terrible. All right, go ahead and rock that wheel. It's not up here, is it? Keep doing it. Do it harder so we can hear it. So the problem's down below. I thought it was up here.
I think it's down underneath and somewhere around the tie rods or something.
Well, it's got new tie rods. And it's got, I think it's those sway bar or lower control arm bushings or something down in there. There's something. I got to remember what we were shaking before and we heard it. Dawson and I lubed it. And it got quieter, and I said, well, Subarus are noted for them, though. Maybe the whole lower frame support or something, the bushings are bad. Put this up on the lift. It's pretty much centered now, and we'll jack her up here a couple feet, pop the tires off, and we'll see what's going on with the brakes. And what we're going to do is, all right, we're sticking with our Detroit axle. What we got, whether they're made in Detroit or not, we've got premium brake pads in a small box. So these must be your rear. We looked up front brakes. Here's our part number for the rear. Here's our part number for the front. So we got new pads. These are ceramic. These are bigger pad in the front. You get a new stainless hardware. You get the brake grease. It's a whole nice kit. And then they have the slot in them for cooling, I guess. And here's our rotors. Got to open them. Yes. These are the Detroit axle. There's the part number. And these are, look like the front rotors. Yes, these are, actually that's the back. Is that the back rotor? Got a drum inside of it. Let me check the other one. All right, these are the S31605. These are the rear. See how big these drums are on the inside. These are slotted and drilled for cooling. So what I started to say, so the original ones, these are the front, these are the rear. What I was originally going to say is, when you go to look these up, like through Amazon, you can punch in your vehicle, so on, and then you get assortment. You can buy pads, you can buy rotors, you can buy calipers, and then you can do front, you can do rear. But if you click on like a kit, kind of a kit price, you know, you get everything. And it was $60 more to get the rear pads and the rear rotors than it was to get just the fronts. And that's like a no-brainer, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
So we got rears that, this car eats up brakes. If you watch the channel, you know this thing goes through brakes. And it's mainly because she's a hot rod and she drives like 120 or something, right?
I do not.
No, but what, she doesn't drive it, and so it sits. And so she gets surface rust on them. And what we are going to do, because the car is a 13, and here we are in 2025, is, look at this, Mom, look here. This is our front calipers. We're going to be putting these on. And what that's going to do, it's going to confirm that we're not going to eat up our new brakes. Pull that bag down. Look at, there we go. Oh, they're heavy. So it's a dual piston caliper. This is Detroit axle. See, all new hardware, new bushings, got grease in it. It's even got the brake clips. Everything's right here. It's even got your double copper washer for the brake line. So, and of course your bleeder is going to be new. So it's a no-brainer. We put on a set, what was this, like a year and a half ago?
Couple years anyway.
I don't know, not very long. So this thing's eating up rotors. And so probably it's time for some calipers. So for the price, it's a no-brainer. We got the front, the rear brakes, the rotors front and rear, pads front and rear, calipers, all that for $300. And so the car's worth it. We can't have Mom, you know, having a breakdown with brakes or hitting something. So we're going to be doing at least the fronts and the calipers. So I'm going to put this on the lift and get started. Let's take this up on the lift. I got my, yeah, she's ready to go up. I go up a little bit, check to make sure we're in a good spot, and rock it. All right, we got her up in the air. See how easy that spins? See it? Pretty smooth. Come over on the passenger side. This is the problem side. This is the side that
I told you I thought it was the front on that side.
makes a noise. Turn that wheel.
Set up, huh?
It don't even turn, does it?
Barely, no.
So we're on the right track with this caliper. Now, like I said, when it started eating up pads and cutting into the rotors quick, there's a reason for it. The calipers are dragging. So if the car, you know, was newer, the mileage don't bother me, but the age of it's what bothers me. I think the caliper's seizing up in the bore. So you can hardly turn this wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the lugs off. Pull that off. See the rotor in there. It doesn't look too healthy. And the brake problem is on this side, but we're going to do both fronts and take care of that problem. And then I'm also going to see, as I can see right through there, can you see that bushing? Some of these bushings are pretty rough. They're cracked and dry. So this probably needs a subframe, but let's see how big a job that might be. So on this side, I'm going to zip these bolts out, which I just did. They're 14 mil. I'm going to tap the caliper off. Don't have a pry bar handy. And this is the caliper we feel is seized. I don't know if you can see it. Quite a bit of rust in there. See that? We got road salt around here. Those pistons are kind of rusty. So the brake hose is right here. Don't put much tension on it. We're going to set this up here. We can wire tie it up. And then this caliper pin is set up. Look at that. That don't work. This one does. This one don't. So it's probably a good time to replace stuff here. Now let's pop off this caliper bracket so we pull the rotor off. And these are 17 mil. Let's see if they come off easily. A little bit of anti-seize on them, so I must have had them off before. They come out pretty nice, so that's good. So then, let's take these pads. We put them on as an emergency last fall when you heard a grind, and
Yep.
we did a quick thing, threw some pads on it. And I believe we lubed them sliders up at that point. I gotta review the video, but we're gonna set this caliper aside and check out this rotor. And this is a groove slotted rotor too, but it's pretty rough. You know? Pretty rough shape. And you can see in this groove here, got some extra shiny metal. So let's check out that inside pad. See what's going on with that. Well, there's a lot of meat on them, so I don't recall why. I think we cleaned them up, threw it back together for her, get her on the road, and we were going to do a brake job later. So this must be the later. So the next thing I'm going to do is, this looks like it's about a 13 mil. So let's see if it is. It is not. It's got to be a 12. It's a 12 mil. So what we're going to do is, first we're going to grab the caliper, the new one, and make sure it matches exactly. We're going to pop this off. We're going to clean up the end of the brake line, put a new copper thrust washer on both sides of that. And let me go get the caliper. Alright, so here's the new caliper. So always line your parts up before you tear anything apart. I learned that the hard way before. But this is exactly the match. This is the right side. If I was them, I'd put a little R on it. But this has the new copper washers. We're going to pop them up, and we're going to wait so we don't get dirt in there. Here's our new bleeder. So we can probably go ahead and load the brake pads up in this too if we wanted to. But what I want to do is, I'll get a pan under this, because we're going to lose a little bit of brake fluid. As long as nobody steps the pedal, it isn't going to be too bad. And I'll grab a 12 mil and we'll snap that off in there. If I can find it. But I'm going to want to probably get a wire brush and clean the end of this up really nice. There it is. Get that all cleaned up first. Always put everything together clean. But I want to crack this free. Oh, not like that. Sometimes you got to leave them bolted to crack it free, but let's see what we got. And get loose enough. A little bit. I think we're good with that. So I'll probably move this stuff out of the way and get a drain pan under here. Alright, so I loosen this brake line up, brake hose, and I clean the bolt off, and I clean the surface of the hose, that little bib on the end. I cleaned it with a file, and I put it back together. So that's temporary. I clean my rotor off with brake clean, and I'm going to set that on there. I'm not sure I can use the original lug nut because they got a castle top on it. So if you tighten this up, it's not going to hold the rotor tight. Be nice if I had another long through lug nut. I could throw a couple washers on there. But what I like to do is to tighten that rotor up on there, and then I go ahead and put my caliper assembly together. So maybe I'll hunt up a few washers or a large nut for it. So I'm just going to take and pop the new caliper off the bracket. And I'm going to load, take it apart like this, and I'm going to go ahead and put the bracket on. And see, our new slides are really nice and clean. And we can put our bracket clips in there, all that. So we can put this on. I'll go hunt up my bolts and then get this on the right way here. And then where'd my bolts go? Here in the dark. I wish I had a lift I could stand up on, but I might actually put a little more lube on them bolts. I'll be right back. So I'm gonna put my brackets in. I put these in the brush wheel, cleaned them up, put some lube on them, got them cleaned up pretty nice. We'll go ahead and assemble these on here, and then zip these down. I like to do them in this order. And I put a couple washers on the rotor so that I can put the lug nut back on there and hold the rotor from falling off, and it doesn't move my brake pads around. People have different ways of doing this. You can put the whole thing together loaded, or you can put it together this way, and I prefer this way. So I'm going to grab my 17 mil and pop them on. Alright, found my socket. I'm going to run these up. You probably could look up the torque on them. You torque them up kind of even here. Close them down just a little bit. And then I'll get out the torque wrench. Okay, we got our bracket in. We've got our new Slides in. We got everything all set. We got our pads in. Now we're going to set our new caliper on. Like I said, there's different ways of doing this, but put our new caliper on. And we got new bolts that come with it, so we don't have to worry about that. And back them out a little bit would be nice. There we go. Take them right out. There. Get our caliper sitting on there. Push our slides in. Look at that, how nice that goes together when it's new. These are 14 mil. Start them. And then our caliper, our used ones, hanging up there. And what that does is it keeps all the fluid from draining out, you know. So there's our caliper. Let's buzz that down. And I'm going to come back and check the torque on everything. Don't sweat that. And then, so our caliper's in. See how it moves back and forth? See that? And so we don't have any pressure on the rotor now. See, we can turn it. Before we couldn't even turn the wheel. So now I'm just going to take and remove the hose and put it on right here. And I left the plastic cap in with the 2 copper washers. So I want to take them off. Do this all in kind of a hurry and bring it down and do that so I don't lose a lot of fluid. So here's my new bolt. I shouldn't say new bolt. My old bolt I put in the brush wheel. I got my new copper washer on. I put my bolt through. I bring this down. It goes through this way. Then I take my second new copper wash, put it on this side. And then what we do is we slide it through that little opening right there, and then it fits right in. We'll tighten this down, and then I'll refill the master cylinder up with .3, and then we'll I think it's .3, I'll check. I got .3 and 4, and then we'll open up the bleeder and let it gravity bleed before we do any kind of pressure bleeding. Okay, I got this bolt tightened up, and I just filled up the master cylinder with .3. Make sure it's top so I don't get any air in it. I got my bleeder loose, that's 10 mil. And I'm just going to see if it'll come in, start filling this up and come out here. And your bleeder, if you want to know if your caliper is correct, a lot of times looking at them you can't really tell until you mount them to the vehicle. But if the bleeder ends up being on the bottom, you've got the wrong side. The bleeder's always at the top because that's where the air will be. So that's how you can tell if somebody put the caliper on the wrong side. It'll still work, it just can't get the air out of it. So, if this doesn't take, there it goes already, see it? Collect this. See the air bubbles come out of that? I don't know if you can see that. There's one. There's one. Look at them come out. Look at this. We're not going to have to bleed this too much. Nice and clean. If it was brown, I'd talk my mom into flushing the system, where what we do is we keep the master full and just keep adding and adding and adding and pump it through, you know. But see how clean that is? It's like clear as water. So it's, if it was brown, I'd say we need new fluid. You would get a spongy pedal, you know, because it's been boiling. But there's still a couple bubbles coming out right there, see them? So, but because the bleeder's at the top, we're not going to have any air in this. So I'm going to lock this down, and then with a helper, I'll once I do the other side, is we'll probably have someone pump the pedal, and I'll do 2 or 3 shots to make sure we have no air in it. So then as I turn this down a little bit, the air should slow down. I want to get this about, oh, right here, it's stamped right. See it? I didn't see the R earlier. Well, actually, the old one is probably all rusted. I don't know if I can see an R on it. Let's see if the old one is stamped. Let's see, bleeder this way, R. Yeah, there's an R down in there. Scratch some of the rust off. So, look closely here. See, There's a bubble. Still a little tiny fine bubbles coming out. So I'm going to let this go a little bit. And make sure all the air is out of this side. And then I'm going to keep the wheel off on this side so I can easily reach this. You put the tire on, it's hard to bleed it. You got to crawl into there and get sprayed in the face, you know. So I'll come back through. I'll look up online. You can just do it on a phone or something and just look up and check your torque settings. And I'll bring out the torque wrench and check them. But for now, they're good enough for this. Looks like our air has stopped, so I'm going to go over to the other side next. And I'll keep my tools handy. We'll do both sides. Dawson will be home from school shortly. He can probably help me bleed this. And Mom will be back on the road. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to check and see what that squeak bang bang is with this. So we'll be checking that out, too. So all except for checking the torque on this, and this. We're back in business. I'm over here on the driver's side. I just cracked the brake fitting off and loosened it just a little so I know it'll come off. And then I'm going to pull the brakes. Same thing on this side. And we know this side works better. But I always do them in pairs. You don't ever do one side. And then pop this right out of the way. Look at the pads on this side. Look great compared to the other side. See that? They're like brand new. You see that, Mom? These are like brand new. So the problem was always over on that side. These are Bendix brand. So yeah, we didn't do rotors and pads at the same time. We put pads on as kind of an emergency thing, I think. And so now I'm going to pop the bracket off. And then these are 17. And then we'll do the same thing. It's just same thing on this side, guys. So I got this side together the same way. And what we're going to do is do the caliper, bleed these out. It's the same as the other side. All right, so I got the new crush washers in there. Dawson, he's home now. What'd you just do? Top off the brake master cylinder. And watch how fast this bleeds, Dawson. If it's anything like the other side, this will bleed fast by itself. The fluid's coming down and got to fill up, but and usually takes about 30 seconds. Oh, here it comes. Now we're checking for air. There's one bubble. Don't have it so loose it leaks out the threads. All right, so now we're ready to power bleed it. I'm going to have Dawson pump the pedal, and we'll get about 3 shots anyway out of each side, and I'll keep the master cylinder full. All right, Dawson pumped the pedal for me. We did each side until we got no air, and now press them. How good is your pedal?
Good. Hard. Halfway.
Good. So no air come out. So now what we're going to do is the brakes are done now. I'm pretty happy with that. We're not going to do the rears right now. We're going to test drive it, make sure that obviously we know the brakes are fixed. Let up, and I want to try to turn. It's going to be a little harder to turn the rotor because there's no tire on it. But remember in the beginning, we couldn't even rotate this side. You let up. And yeah, I can't rotate it by hand here, so I'll probably have to put tire on or I'll have to set the camera down. I gave the camera away so I could do this, but see, it's hard to turn, but it's so easy to turn this now, not even with the tire on. So I know that we got this fixed. The other problem she's got is that squeaky rattle, so we're going to see about finding this under there. All right, Dawson and I are trying to get organized under here. We're going to just start looking over all these components. That other light over there, it's got a battery in it. That Ryobi's a really bright one. We got to figure out if it's lower control arms or, you know, I don't know what's rattling here. Sway bar, something's like got to rattle when she's hitting bumps. So right here on the top is a little button. Oh, the battery's dead. I had it on for quite a while. There's a heat shield rattle. That'd drive me nuts. We could put a couple bolts in that. The other half of it's gone. Let's look all this over and see what's going on. But New York rust, you know, it gets after everything. Like, right, what we're going to look for is every moving part, you know, on these bushings and see if anything is close to the metal. And we got a couple big pry bars. We're going to start wiggling. When we find it, if we find it, we'll bring you back. It looks like most of our culprit is right there. In the lower control arm there. It's got, see all that? Let me get up in there. See that bushing is like ripped? Looks pretty rough, don't it? Yeah. So I think it needs lower control arms because, you know, if we're in Florida, we could probably put bushings in it, but I don't think we're going to get them out of there. They're going to be rusted solid. They come with that, see that collar on the inside? Yeah. And then the rubber. I think it's going to be pretty hard to get it apart. So what this would entail is, I don't know if it needs an alignment afterwards. It might. That would suck. Pry right here, forward and back, and see if we can get that one to move too. Don't pry on the rubber. Is there any movement on that? A little bit, isn't there? How about if you pry on the front part going backward? A little bit. So that looks pretty bad. And then on this side, this one is obviously ripped. See it? Yeah. Pretty dried out, crusty, rusty. Yeah. Ooh, it's tore right up through there. See it? Oh yeah. It's a. So put the pry bar on this one. Let me move my head here. Kind of wish I had a stand-up lift. See, look at all the movement in that one. Put the bar up in there, though. Up there. Yeah, about there. Look at all that. That's your problem, lady.
What's that? That one?
Yeah, I think it needs lower control arms. I don't know if that's a part number, 2825D. I can't believe we can still read that. It's at 2013. We wiped off our brake fluids. Look how nice our brakes are, though, guys. So that would entail the lower ball joint. And I think on this model, the ball joint's up in there. So I think just the bolt on the bottom, we then take the castle nut off. And up here, we'd have to take that nut off, which looks foolish because it's right next to the rack around the inner tie rod. And then I don't see any other bushings that would be moving in here. What we could do now is we'll put the tires on, let it down, and then we should probably put a couple bolts in that bracket right there to keep that from rattling. Maybe I got a self-tapping garage door bolt that would fit right in that nice. And then right in that white bucket over there is a couple of them now. So we can zip them in. They're like 10 millimeter or 7/16 I think they are. We can zip them in and tighten up that rattle. And then that's it. We'll just put the weight on the car and we'll climb under here and see if it does the same kind of rattle. So Dawson's tightening up that, you got two bolts you're putting in it, right? Yeah. A bolt and a nut. We're going to tighten up that little tiny rattle on the heat shield. And we're going to check on lower control arms. That'll be another project in itself when we got to order them. So I'm going to see if I'm going to do it, or they're tough in a garage situation like this where you're crawling. I'd like to stand up. But that's it on the brake job, and I think we found the rattle. She hits a bump and it's a rattle. And putting the car down, I think we're going to still put the car down and see if it squeaks, see if it's the same thing. Now we're going to throw these tires on there. I shouldn't say we, Dawson is. He's a tire man. He's going to be the NASCAR zipper do, right? I'll give you the lug nuts and we'll zip them on. So see, we're back to spinning easy by hand. We couldn't do that before, could we? Here we go. Ah, this seat's up so I hit my head. Oh my god. Oh my god, the radio's going. Oh, this grandma's car. Fans on high, defroster. Woo! The seat's up, I'm choking. Ah. There, now we go for a ride. She's in the back seat. So let's check this out, huh? We're gonna go on a little test ride. Right, Dawson?
Yep.
Can't hear noises with the radio up. Maybe that's the best way to do it. Now we know all the sounds aren't going to be gone, but let's listen closely. We know there's going to be a... I don't hear it now. That rubbing noise. Alright, let's go down and check this out. We got to break these rotors in properly. And it's shoot day here. What we got going on is they're going to be pigeon shooting tonight at the club. I don't know if they're out there now. Probably not. I was going to show you. They shoot right off from here. That's what you hear in the video background. Boom, 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 boom. It's Tuesday night. So what we got to do to break these rotors in properly is you got to get up to 40 miles an hour and do 3 successive stops. 5, I think, successive stops. So you go 40 miles an hour like we are. I got on a straightaway. They want you to go hard braking to 10. Once you're to 10, pick it up. Hopefully you won't get sick doing it. This thing moves, man. Wish my truck went this fast. Then we do it again. They want you to get them brakes warmed right up. Go down to 10. And then drive it for 5 minutes after. Actually, they want you to do 40 to 10, right, Dawson?
Then 35 to 5.
And then 35 to 5. And then drive it for 5. And that cools it down, but it leaves an even pattern across your rotors and lets them break in quicker. And that way, Grandma won't get any loud noises from her new brakes, you know. Neighbors are going to think I'm crazy. Crazy. I'll do one more, we'll turn around and head the other way, and we'll do the same thing. This house just sold. Hey, want to stop at the brewery? Craft beer. They're not open today. And what I like about it is they close early, so they have a lot of bands there. But they don't play after, what, 8, 9 o'clock? They're done. Shut right down. It's good. It's not a 3 o'clock in the morning thing, you know. Boy, that's a nice feeling brake. I think she's going to be pleased cruising in this, and if she needs to stop on a dime, she can do it. So that's how you break in your new brakes. Get her up to 35, slow her down to 5. This is the second round. Do that a few times. Get sick in the meantime. You getting sick back there, Grandma?
No.
Aren't you glad I don't normally drive like this? But they want you to get the brakes hot and then drive 5 minutes, let the air get in there and cool them down, and drive normal after that. Boy, they feel good, don't they? I don't hear any rattling. Do you hear anything, Dawson? So on our 5-minute drive around, I'm going to hit a couple bumps and see if we can get them any more rattling. Dawson did that heat shield. He put a couple bolts in it, but the steering wheel's pretty straight. It ain't vibrating. give it a good check out, you know. So follow along with the channel. We'll see what comes up next. We got our kitchen project we're working on. We've got my truck, the F-150's got some issues we got to take care of or sell it, one or the other. You got to know when to stop spending on it, you know. And warm weather's here. You know, I shouldn't say it's here, but it's almost here. We're into spring. I can't wait to get out, work in the flower beds. I got a couple projects. I think I got at least 1 or 2 chicken coops to build. Got a ceiling to put up. I got some vinyl siding. I got a deck to build. And I got a vinyl fence to put around the pool from the last year project when Dawson and I did the spread rock around the pool. Should be doing a vinyl fence there because the deer have been walking in on our new pool cover. She's got that stretchy cover on it now so they can handle the body weight. But she don't want the deer eating up her plants. So we'll be doing a fence on that. So follow along and thanks for watching. See you later. Here we are at the lake. This is where Lucille Ball used to spend her summers. She had a camp up here by the tower. See the tower? Well, I shouldn't say a camp. It's almost a mansion up there. Of course, we never saw her here, but this is where she used to spend her time. And Dawson and I never seem to catch any fish out of that, do we? We know they're in there. We just don't seem to get them.